There are 307 million Americans, and 270 million of us have cell phones, spending an average of 12 and a half hours on them each month, despite the ongoing anxiety about the effect on our bodies. So Dr. Mehmet Oz, host of the Dr. Oz Show, is joining us this morning with a list of do's and probably don'ts, and it's great to see you again.
Well, thank you very much.
Now, we think of this as radiation, but this isn't radiation that you're getting from your cell phone. It's something else, a radio frequency
wave. And by the way, so that they're not chest X-rays, and it's not a nuclear radiation fallout from a bomb. These are simple radio frequency waves. That stated, there has been some concern for a while that radio frequency waves could affect cells in the brain, especially if your skull is thin, for example, if you're a child. So if I can just show you a quick animation, I think we'll bring the science really clear. Most people think their cell phones just receive waves, but they don't. The cell phone has to send a wave out in order to find a cell tower near you. That is an important clue for us about simple things we might be able to do to prevent any changes if, in fact, any are occurring. And notice again, the waves go into your brain. They have to. That's how the device works.
But we are 20 years into the use of them with some intensity, and we have from the American Cancer Society a statement that in general, expert agencies agrees that most evidence does not point to cell phone use increasing the risk of tumors.
Yeah.
She says fast. And also an FDA statement. So far, studies have not shown any bad effects for anyone from cell phone RF. So the bottom line on the studies so far?
Well, until recently, I think those were pretty good encapsulations of what was found, which is that over the periods of time examined, 3 to 5 years of cell phone use, you weren't finding differences. But there have been some recent studies that have been alarming, where you follow people for longer periods of time. And Diane, remember that if you're going to look at something very subtle like radio frequency waves affecting brain cells, you have to study them over a decade. So guess what? Because of some of these studies, Britain, France, and Israel have now offered advisories cautioning us, not telling us not to use cell phones, but cautioning us to be smart.
This surprised me. If the signal is poor, or if it's interrupted when you're driving, you're getting more of the radio frequency waves inside your head?
You are. And remember that animation that I showed? Part of the problem that we have is those waves have to boost up from your cell phone to find the tower. So if you're traveling in a car, the highest intensity of those waves is when the cell phone shifts from one tower to the next. If you're in an elevator, same thing. If you're going into a poor part of wherever you live, you would need to be very cautious about using a cell phone there.
And if it's interrupted and has to power back up?
Just hold it a little further from your head. These are, by the way, simple changes. I'm not getting rid of my cell phone, and I don't think you are either. These are things I think we can do as precaution. If you're wearing them all the time, then they're always being a receiver. They're always pulling waves towards you. And
something else that I think intuitively wondered about, but you said, don't keep them in your pocket. Don't keep your cell phone in your pocket. Why?
Because the effect of the radio frequency waves resides, and no matter where it is. And there's a study recently from the Cleveland Clinic showing, guess what? You can actually affect the sperm in males with these devices. So if you have an option of putting it in the purse or not keeping it on your body, take advantage of it. If every once in a while you got to put it on your belt, fine. But this should not be, again, a part of your dressing every morning.
Okay, before we let you go, I know coming up later this week, you're tackling something that is deep, high in the list of ick, and that would be bed bugs. Here's a clip.
When it gets dark, because the bed bugs hate the light, they start coming out. They start to swarm. They love the heat and they love the darkness. And as they swarm, they come up on your skin. And once they get under your skin, they look for an open patch where they can just realize their nutrition is just an inch away. And then they bounce. And as they pounce in, they begin to suckle and take out the blood. Cell phones on tomorrow.
Yes, so cell phones are
tomorrow.
Bed bugs later this week.
And guess what? Guess who called me yesterday?
Who?
My eldest daughter from a Manhattan apartment saying, guess what, Daddy? They called from upstairs. There are bed bugs in our apartment. So believe me, this is an epidemic. It has increased in this country by 70%. You want to know about bed bugs.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Oz. Again, check your local listing for the Dr. Oz Show.